Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our guest of honor, Associate Professor Dr. Mohammed Faisal Ibrahim, Minister of State for Home Affairs and National Development. A very, very good morning to Associate Professor Dr. Mohammed Faisal Ibrahim, Minister of State for Home Affairs and National Development. Ms. Tita Yowana Alwis, Minister Counselor, Head of Economy, Embassy of the Republic of Indonesia. Mr. So Waiwa, Principal and CEO, Singapore Polytechnic. Engineer Chan Yu Jin, President, the Institution of Engineers, Singapore. Engineer Tan Seng Chuan, President-elect, World Federation of Engineering Organizations. Mr. Kelvin Wong, Chief Executive Officer, Building and Construction Authority. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the World Engineering Day 2025, featuring the Charles Roy Distinguished Global Lectures. My name is Ajay, and it is my absolute pleasure to be your host this morning. In celebration of World Engineering Day, today's event is jointly organized by the Institution of Engineers Singapore and Singapore Polytechnic. This year marks a significant milestone as the event evolves from this regional gathering into a global platform, bringing together international experts and audiences to share innovative solutions and foster collaborations in addressing global challenges. Our theme this year, Towards a Sustainable World, Engineering the Way Forward, focuses on two critical areas: the circular economy and a resilient future. Throughout today's program, we will explore how engineering plays a vital role in advancing the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. With its multidisciplinary approach, problem-solving capabilities, and relentless pursuit of innovation, engineering stands as a key driver in achieving global sustainability. Now, we've got an exciting program lined up for you this morning, and we're going to start it just in a little bit. But before we begin, we'd like to express our sincere gratitude to our sponsors and partners who have made this event possible. Our gold sponsor, NUS College of Design and Engineering. Our silver sponsors, WeHer Construction and SMRT Corporation. Our bronze sponsors, JTC Corporation, Land Transport Authority, Mitsubishi, and Pan United Corporation, and our many, many supporting partners. We're also pleased to share that today's event has attracted a remarkable turnout of more than 500 engineers with us physically here, and more than 1,000 joining us virtually from around the world. I'm also pleased to share that today's event is organized in accordance with the Ministry of Sustainability and Environment's guidelines for organizing events. We've adopted paperless registration and ensured that no disposable cutlery or crockery is used. Now, these are small yet meaningful steps we can all take to support the Sustainable Development Goals. So without further ado, let's begin today's program. Now, to kick things off, I'd like to invite Mr. So Waiwa, Principal and Chief Executive Officer of Singapore Polytechnic, on stage to welcome us. Mr. So, please.
Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Faizan Ibrahim, the Minister of State for the Ministry of Home Affairs and the Ministry of National Development. Your Excellencies and honorable diplomats from Cambodia, China, the Philippines, and Thailand, Mr. Kelvin Wong, the CEO of the Building and Construction Authority, Mr. John Lim, the CEO of the National Research Foundation, Engineer Tan Seng Chuan, the President-elect of the World Federation of Engineering Organizations, Engineer Chan Yu Jin, the President of the Institute of Engineers in Singapore. Distinguished guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Singapore Polytechnic. It is a privilege for SP, as we are fondly known, to be able to host this year's World Engineering Day featuring the Charles Rudd Distinguished Global Lectures. This is the third consecutive year that SP has the honor of partnering the Institute of Engineers in Singapore for this event. Our shared vision of advancing in engineering excellence and promoting sustainability has been a cornerstone of this collaboration. Through this collaboration, SP and IES strive to empower the global engineering community by showcasing innovative solutions and best practices. Together, we reaffirm the engineering's vital role in creating a sustainable and resilient future. This year's theme, Towards a Sustainable World, Engineering the Way Forward, highlights the critical role of engineering in advancing the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. The focus of the circular economy and resilient future underscores the need for innovative solutions that minimize waste, optimize resource, and build systems that can withstand these challenges. These concepts align deeply with SP's mission to enable industries and communities to embrace sustainable practices and prepare for the future. Today, leading experts and innovators will share their insights and explore how engineering can drive transformation, inspire action, and address real-world challenges. At this same event last year, I was here and I shared about Singapore Poly's 60-30 vision. We target a 60% reduction in greenhouse gas emission in 6 years by the year 2030. For those who have heard it before, bear with me as I share again how we came to this 60-30 vision. It started about 3-4 years ago when the country announced our net zero emission goal by the year 2050. In fact, for Singapore Polytechnic, a government agency, we are supposed to reach it by 2045. I confess at that time I have 3 reactions, which perhaps is typical of most Singaporeans. Net zero by 2045 is very difficult, it's very expensive, and it is the next generation's problem, my successor's problem. Nevertheless, I commissioned a consultancy study to audit SP status and to map out a trajectory. After 6 months of study, we came to some astounding results. The consultants demonstrate that we actually can reduce 60% of our emissions in 6 years by the year 2030 through deployment of solar panels, through replacement of our chiller systems and digitalizing our energy utilities. So it's 60% in 6 years, so it's not too difficult. Then I say, what is the bill? Know how expensive it is? Surely it's too expensive. The finding was it will cost me about $20 million. Not a small sum, but for a campus this size, $20 million is not unreasonable. But the consultant demonstrate that I will recoup this money by the year 2033, simply through avoidance of electricity charges and carbon taxes. So not only is it not too difficult, it turns out to be not too expensive, and I can actually recoup it. It pays itself. So now I don't say it is next generation's problem anymore. I will say that you and I who have contributed to this mess that we are in, we have the responsibility to solve the problem, do what we can, take action for the next generation's sake. So since then, SP, we have implemented various programs. We have made notable progress. If you walk around the campus, we can see our solar panels being laid all over. By the end of this year, we will switch it on, and it will mean 11% from that chunk of 60% we can decarbonize. Development is also underway for our first Green Mark Zero energy building. When ready in 2026, we will want to showcase it to everyone as a showcase for innovative sustainability solutions. And while waiting for these infrastructure projects to come on stream, we also launched an exercise to change staff behavior, change our operational practices that doesn't involve heavy infrastructural spending. The goal is to reduce electricity consumption by 5% below what we used to do so in 2022. We started in late 2023. It was a slow start, but I'm happy to say that in the last 8 months, 6 of these months, we've managed to reduce our electricity consumption by more than 5%. So I'm confident that we can sustain this reduction in the long run because we have made permanent changes to our operational processes. In other words, even before we complete any infrastructural projects, we have already taken a significant step of 5% towards our 60% reduction in greenhouse gas target. Today, I'm also proud to announce the launch of our Built Environment Transformation Learning Journey. SP, in collaboration with the Building and Construction Authority, proudly launched this initiative. It is designed to empower our small and medium industry with actionable insights into the industry transformation map. It focuses on 3 pivotal pillars. In integrated planning and design, we encourage collaboration across project life cycle to improve efficiency and outcomes. In advanced manufacturing and automation, we revolutionize the construction process through innovative and productive methods. And in sustainable urban system, we champion greener, smarter solutions for the way forward. So this program reflects SP's unwavering commitment to foster innovation, resilience, and sustainable growth, enabling industry players to lead the change for future-ready Singapore. As we gather here today, let us remember the urgency of the challenge before us, Trump notwithstanding. Sustainability, innovation, and resilience are interconnected imperatives that require collaboration across industry and communities. I encourage all of us to take inspiration and insights from what is being shared at the event later today. Together, let us lead with purpose. Thank you, and I wish you a productive and inspiring day ahead.
Thank you, Mr. So. You know, that's the one thing I love about engineers. Every time you hear there's an issue, there's a problem, you know for yourself, like, it really doesn't concern me. It's way beyond my time. It's not really my problem quite yet. But still, let's look at the numbers first. And getting the consultants looking at the numbers, realizing that, hey, actually there's a lot I can do right now, getting it started. And as an institution of learning for students, to get students to grow up in that environment where change is happening on a day-to-day basis. Every single day of their curriculum, they're learning that, oh, we got a new green building, we got a new this. They expect to see this in the workplace when they enter and they be those change agents themselves. So another big round of applause. SP, amazing green efforts. Next up, I'd like to invite Engineer Chan Eugene, President of the Institution of Engineers Singapore, on stage to deliver his opening address. Engineer Chan, please.
Our guest of honor, Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Faisal Ibrahim, Minister of State for Home Affairs and National Development. Your Excellency and honorable diplomats from Cambodia, China, Philippines, and Thailand. Ms. Tita Yowana Elvis, Minister Counselor, Head of Economy, Indonesia Embassy. Mr. Kelvin Wong, Chief Executive Officer, Building and Construction Authority. Mr. John Lim, CEO, National Research Foundation. Mr. So Waiwa, Principal and CEO, Singapore Polytechnic. Engineer Tan Seng Chuan, President-elect of the World Federation of Engineering Organization. IS Council members, sponsors, supporting partners, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to the Charles Druck Distinguished Global Lectures CRDGL 2025, a key initiative by the Institution of Engineers Singapore to foster a deeper appreciation of engineering amongst engineers, students, and the public. I'd like to extend my sincere gratitude to Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Faisal Ibrahim for gracing our event with your presence. This year's event builds upon the success of the inaugural edition last year, where we elevated the lecture series to a global scale. We strive to go even further in uniting the international engineering community to exchange insights, explore emerging technologies, and tackle engineering challenges shaping our future. I'm pleased to share that we have extensive community of engineers joining us virtually from around the world today, testifying to the global significance of this lecture series. We are privileged to have Minister Counselor Ms. Tita Yowana Elvis and Mr. Kelvin Wong as the distinguished keynote speakers for today's session. Together with our esteemed panelists, they will empower and inspire us to take decisive action in line with this year's themes towards a sustainable world, engineering the way forward. Today's lectures will spotlight two key areas that demand our attention as engineers: circular economy and resilient future. From reimagining material usage, integrating circular principles into design and production, to creating climate-resilient infrastructure, engineers hold the key to realizing a more sustainable world. The urgency has never been greater. The world needs bold, initiative solutions to build a thriving circular economy and fortify resilience against climate change and urbanization. CRDGL also serves as a key prelude to World Engineering Day, WED, on 4 March, reinforcing this year's WED themes, shaping a sustainable future through engineering. Engineers are in the driver's seat in advancing the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, SDG. Through CRDGL, we aim to equip you with the knowledge, tools, and inspiration to elevate your impact, empowering you to enhance the well-being of mankind, push the boundary for excellence, and build a future where no one is left behind. At IES, we are fully committed to advancing the SDG and driving Singapore's sustainability agenda. The IES Green Plan, with its comprehensive roadmap, set forth actionable strategy to build a greener and more sustainable future, closely aligned with Singapore Green Plan 2030. For instance, we have strengthened professional upskilling and recognition for engineers in the sustainability space. Together with our partners from transportation and academic sectors, we have developed key electric vehicle maintenance skills for engineers, ensuring quality and safety. This highlights IES' dedication to building a skilled workforce for Singapore's green future. But our journey does not stop here. We invite you to be part of this critical mission, whether by adopting greener engineering practices, contributing innovative solutions, or collaborating on transformative initiatives. Imagine a world where every engineer embraces sustainability as a core value. What kind of future could we create together? Once again, thank you for your participation and support. As we embark on today's session, let us keep an open mind to knowledge, ideas, and potential collaboration that could make real differences in the pursuit of a sustainable, equitable, and resilient future. Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer Chan. I always love it when IAS does these events because you really see that step, you start from the institutions of education, then the professional bodies, how they come in, they tie in, they get those industry collaborations in place together. And next up, we'll be taking it to the world. And we'd like to invite Engineer Tan Seng Chuan, President-elect of the World Federation of Engineering Organizations, on stage to share his address. Engineer Tan, please.
Our guest of honor, Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Faisal Ibrahim, Minister of State and for Home Affairs and National Development. Your Excellency, honorable diplomats from Cambodia, China, Philippines, and Thailand. Mr. Kelvin Wong, CEO of Building and Construction Authority. Mr. John Lim, CEO of National Research Foundations, Mr. So Wai Hua, Principal and CEO of Singapore Polytechnic, Engineer Chan Eugene, President of Institutions of Engineers Singapore, fellow engineers, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. It is my great pleasure to join everyone this morning in the Charles Schwab Distinguished Global Lecture. I would like to extend a warm welcome to all fellow engineers, friends joining online around the world. So I understand that there are more than thousands online, and that is a great result of how attractive is this lecture going to be more globally attended by various engineers around the world. On behalf of UNESCO and World Federations of Engineering Organizations, I would like to congratulate IES and Singapore Polytechnic for organizing this event as part of the World Engineering Day celebrations. The theme towards a sustainable world, engineering the way forwards, has seamlessly tied into the World Engineering Day visions, while the focus area of circular economy and resilient future serve as a powerful call to actions for engineers to take the lead in creating a better future. As President-elect of the WFEO, I'm enthusiastic about the potential of Charles Schwab Distinguished Global Lecture to inspire more collective actions and accelerate the engineering solutions that can transform the life and community worldwide. As Engineer Chan mentioned, Charles Schwab Distinguished Global Lecture is one of the key leading events of World Engineering Summit, and this is an official UNESCO International Day on 4th of March, proclaimed in 2019, which is during the COVID period. Following a proposal from WFEO, the core missions of WED is to highlight the critical role of engineering in advancing the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Today, with a global population exceeding 8 billion, countless communities remain underserved. More than 2.7 billion people lack of access to safe water across the world. Millions struggle with energy shortage, inadequate infrastructure, and the devastating effect of climate change. Engineering is fundamental to bring these gaps, whether in alleviating poverty, ensuring clean water and energy access, strengthening disaster response, or constructing resilience and sustainable infrastructure. Over the past 6 years, WED has grown tremendously in scale, influence, and significance. An increasing number of organizations are coming on board, reflecting a growing awareness of urgency to act. This year, under the theme Shaping a Sustainable Future Through Engineering, announced by UNESCO, we aim to drive even greater awareness and actions to transform ideas into solutions that identify and address global challenge. This year, we have mobilized the 5 continents to celebrate this day. And the main event will be held on the 4th of March in Paris at the UNESCO headquarters. One of the key highlights this year is the WED Hackathon, which focus on SDG number 1, no poverty. Currently, about 8.5% of the world population, or 700 million people, live in the extreme poverty. Engineering has the power to deliver real, tangible solutions to tackle this crisis. Through the hackathon, we aim to inspire engineering students worldwide to innovate and develop solutions that bring us closer eliminating poverty. At this point, I'm happy to inform you that Singapore has 2 teams being shortlisted in the 15 finalists. They are students from PSB and NUS. Result will be announced on the 4th March in Paris. The role of engineers has never been more crucial in the face of mounting global challenge. I hope that today's discussion and insight will inspire you to harness the transformative power of engineering. Together, let us move forward with a shared purpose and shape the sustainable future for all. Finally, I wish everyone has a fruitful session. Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer Tan. Now, it's so delightful to hear that we have 2 teams up in the running, 4th March. Keep your eyes on the newspapers. Team Singapore for the win. Hopefully, but in any case, no matter who the winner is, we all win because a global hackathon finding new ways to solve the sustainable development goals means it's a win for all of us at the end of the day. Now, it's my great pleasure to invite our guest of honor, Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Faisal Ibrahim, Minister of State for Home Affairs and National Development, on stage to deliver his address.
Your Excellencies, Thai and Cambodian ambassadors and diplomats, Ms. Tita Joanna Alvis, Minister Counselor, Head of Economy, Indonesia Embassy, Mr. Kelvin Wong, CEO, BCA, Mr. So Wai Wah, CEO and Principal of Singapore Polytechnic, Engineer Chan Wee Jin, President, IES, Engineer Tan Seng Chuan, President-elect, World Federation of Engineering Organizations, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. A very good morning to each and every one of you. I'm happy to be able to join you today at the Charles Rudd Distinguished Global Lectures. Before I start, I thought I must confess something, or look suspend. All my life, I have high regards for engineers. So I'm very happy to be here. And I'd like to begin by thanking engineers past and present for their pivotal role in shaping the spaces that we live and work in, the roads that we travel on, and the infrastructure that keeps our cities thriving. So please join me to thank all our engineers, whether in Singapore, those who are online, and across the world, for what they have contributed in our lives. Please join me. Singapore has just submitted our 2035 Nationally Determined Contributions, NDC, at the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change yesterday, on the 10th of February 2025. The NDC highlights Singapore's commitment to climate action. In our 2035 NDC, we have committed to reducing our emissions to between 45 to 50 million tons of carbon dioxide equivalent by 2035. Given that we are an alternative energy disadvantaged nation, this is an ambitious goal. However, we are confident that we can achieve this with the collective effort of our various stakeholders domestically and internationally, especially with the contributions of our engineers. Engineers will play an important role in this transition, designing innovative solutions to decarbonize our economy, enhance energy efficiency, and drive sustainable urban development. It is therefore very apt that the theme of this year's lectures is Towards a Sustainable World, Engineering the Way Forward. Achieving our targets will require expertise and innovation from our engineering community. Solutions such as carbon capture, utilization and storage, new green building materials, centralized cooling systems are all testament to the power of engineering ingenuity. We must continue to drive innovation in these areas so that Singapore can punch above our weight and contribute to thought leadership on the sustainability front. As global citizens, we are committed to fulfilling our roles to strive and make Singapore and the world a better and more sustainable place for all to live in. This year's lecture touches on two key concepts: circular economy and resilient future. Circular economy aims at eliminating waste and promoting continual use of resources. This is not a new concept. In fact, we have been actively integrating circular economy principles into our built environment to enhance sustainability and resource efficiency. For instance, we have also been recycling our construction materials, reusing demolition waste, and investing in sustainable and energy-efficient building systems. There are growing efforts to support circular economy in the built environment, the BE sector. Examples of these efforts include sourcing for more sustainable materials for construction and tapping on more environmentally friendly technologies. This is a good sign that our awareness and understanding of the need to be more sustainable has increased. However, more can be done. In the face of growing uncertainties brought about by climate change, building a resilient future has never been more critical. For Singapore's building sector, we have committed ourselves since 2021 to achieving the 80-80-80 in 2030 targets. First, to establish 80% green buildings by 2030. Second, to have 80% of new development to be super low energy from 2030. And thirdly, to achieve 80% improvement in energy efficiency for best-in-class green buildings by 2030. BCA has also been introducing and enhancing measures to support the industry to achieve these targets. This includes raising environmental sustainability standards for the sector, as well as encouraging the adoption of more stringent super low energy standards through the GreenGov.sg movement and the government land sales scheme. This year, we will implement the mandatory energy improvement MEI regime. Under the new MEI regime, owners of energy-intensive buildings will be required to conduct energy audits and develop plans to address their high energy consumption. This will allow us to optimize energy use in existing infrastructure and contribute to our ongoing efforts to encourage sustainable developments. So at the end of the day, we feel that engineers like you are the driving force behind these sustainable efforts. The government will continue to find ways to recognize our engineers and to ensure that you are well equipped with skills for the future. A task force for architectural and engineering consultants led by Ms. Indrani Raja, Second Minister for National Development, and Mr. Charlie Ma, Chairman of Sabana Jurong, was set up last year to ensure that Singapore continues to have a capable and talented pipeline of BE professionals and firms to deliver on Singapore's development plans. We have made good progress through frank discussions with various stakeholders in the BE sector, including consultants, professional boards, TACs, developers, IHLs, young professionals, and public agencies. We'll provide an update and share more about the upcoming initiatives in the upcoming Committee of Supply debates. So look forward to it. In conclusion, the participation of engineers in this sustainability journey is crucial in achieving our goals and make Singapore a sustainable place to live in. And I think it's important that we continue this journey together. I think you can't deny the fact that we have set up the framework, we understand the concerns that you have, and we want to make sure that with the new opportunities and challenges coming ahead, and with regards to pertinent issues that are important not only in Singapore but globally, we want to make sure that we partner you in this journey and we invite all engineers to be part of this journey. And we look forward to continued partnership with all of you, all the stakeholders, including engineers like yourself, as we push ourselves to innovate further to build the sustainable and resilient Singapore that we envisage. And before I end, I just want to thank you for inviting me. I'm deeply humbled to be able to join you, and I wish you a great day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Faisal. We'd like to invite you to please remain on stage to receive a token of appreciation. Now, I'd also like to invite on stage Mr. So Wai Wah, Principal and CEO of Singapore Polytechnic, and Engineer Chan Yu Jin, President of the Institution of Engineers Singapore, to present the token. All right. We'd like to invite Engineer Chan and Mr. So to present their tokens. Let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you, gentlemen. We'd like to invite you to remain on stage to witness the launch of the Built Environment Transformation Learning Journey. Got to capture all those beautiful smiles. Now, we'd like to invite you to please remain on stage. We'll be moving to the Built Environment Transformation Learning Journey. Now, to do the launch, we'd also like to invite on stage Mr. Kelvin Wong, Chief Executive Officer of the Building and Construction Authority. All right, gentlemen, are you all ready? Okay, so I'm going to explain how this is going to happen. In front of them, they have a digital display with a special button on it. So I'd like you all at this time, yeah, there we go. At this time, to place your right hand above the button, just hover it there. Okay? And on the count of 3, I'll invite you to stop down. So it'll be 1, 2, 3. Then on the count of 3, you touch it down, and then your podiums will light up, and a special video will play. Then I'd like to direct your attention to the screen to enjoy the video as well. At that moment, don't worry, you can let go of the button, so you don't have to. Yeah. Okay, are we ready? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Congratulations on the successful launch. Let's give them a big round of applause. Now, gentlemen, before you step down, or now that you've already stepped down, let's take one more picture, just all 4 of you in the center, as one group photograph, just to capture this moment. Big smiles for the camera. Thank you, gentlemen. You may return to your seats. Thank you. Now, while our guests make their way to their seats, let me share a little bit about the Built Environment Transformation Learning Journey, or BETLJ for short. Now, organized by Singapore Polytechnic in support of Build SG, the BETLJ offers SMEs practical insights into this resilient and forward-looking industry. The Built Environment Transformation Learning Journey highlights how companies in the built environment sector are leveraging innovative technologies and sustainable practices under the Industry Transformation Map's 3 key pillars: integrated planning and design, advanced manufacturing and automation, and sustainable urban systems. It also equips SMEs with strategic tools for business and workforce transformation, offering follow-up support such as training programs, funding opportunities to drive growth in the evolving built environment landscape. Now, Singapore Poly and the Institution of Engineers Singapore will also curate industry-relevant professional courses to equip SMEs for transformation and recognize the contributions of industry professionals. With the BETLJ launched, we now move to our first distinguished keynote address for the 2025 IES Charles Rudd Distinguished Global Lectures. Please join me to give a big warm round of applause as we invite Ms. Tita Yowana Always, Minister Councillor, Head of Economy, Embassy, the Republic of Indonesia, on stage to deliver her address. Ms. Always, please.
Honorable Mr. So Waiwa, Principal of Singapore Polytechnic, Mr. Muhammad Faisal Ibrahim, Minister of State for Home Affairs and National Development, Mr. Tan Sen Chuan, President-elect World Federation of Engineering Organizations, Mr. Chan Eugene, President of the Institution of Engineers Singapore, Mr. Calvin Wong, CEO Building and Construction Authority, distinguished panelists, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor and privilege for me to join you today to celebrate the World Engineering Day 2025 and to reflect on one of the most urgent and transformative themes of our time towards a sustainable world, engineering the way forward. Well, I may not have an engineering background, but as a representative of Indonesia, I stand before you with a strong confidence in the power of diplomacy, policy, and international cooperation to influence positive change in the world. We gather today to discuss how engineering can impact the future of our planet, promote sustainability, and boost economic growth, in addition to helping to address the main environmental problems we face. Sustainable engineering practices and the circular economy, that is a highly relevant topic. Our challenges are not only technical or technological, they are profoundly linked to the environmental, social, and economic structures in which we live in. Therefore, it is imperative that we must work together as a global community in order to address the issues of biodiversity loss, resource scarcity, and climate change. The development of solutions that will guarantee a sustainable future for us all depends on engineering, creativity, and strategic alliances. We must acknowledge that engineering plays a crucial role in shaping sustainable outcomes, not just through technology and infrastructure, but through frameworks of cooperation and sustainable governance. The principles of the circular economy, or sometimes regenerative economy, offer a fascinating vision for the future, a vision where industries, communities, and nations work together to embrace practices that regenerate natural ecosystems, minimize waste, and keep products and resources in use for as long as possible. In this context, engineering solutions become not only technical answers to environmental problems, but also tools for social resilience and economic growth. While the circular economy is a global and collective movement, it is also relevant to specific regions and countries. In this regard, although not yet fully considered a circular economy, Indonesia is nonetheless taking bold steps towards achieving sustainability. As one of the largest economies in Southeast Asia, Indonesia has committed to a green growth strategy that places the circular economy at the heart of this future, which is embedded in the ambitious Indonesia Golden Vision 2045 or Visi Indonesia Emas 2045. Please allow me to explain it. Indonesia's Vision 2045 is centered on 4 key pillars: human development and mastery of science and technology, sustainable economic development, equitable development, and strengthening national resilience and governance. Our primary goal is to establish Indonesia as a sovereign, developed, and sustainable nation by 2045. And to achieve this, we have set the following targets: gross national income per capita, $30,000, ensuring higher standards of living for our people; poverty eradication to 0%, ensuring inclusive prosperity; human capital index, achieving an index score of 0.73; and greenhouse emission reduction, a 93.5% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions, driving us towards net zero emissions by 2060. Among many concrete actions which Indonesia has taken is the National Roadmap for Green Building Implementation, a part of a broader circular economy roadmap, launched quite recently in October 2024, led by the Ministry of Public Works and Housing together with the Ministry of Energy and the Ministry of Home Affairs. This roadmap highlights Indonesia's growing commitment to sustainable urban development and the decarbonization of its building sector, which is crucial long-term environmental goal. The roadmap's launch sets new standards for how countries can tackle climate change through cross-sectoral collaboration, and its implementation is expected to yield substantial reductions in emissions while enhancing the quality of life for millions of Indonesians. This roadmap will finally ensure that Indonesia is on the right track to reach its NDC target in the energy sector by 2030 through the emission reduction in the subsector towards net zero carbon emission in 2060. Nevertheless, Indonesia's great vision of the future cannot be achieved in isolation. Regional and global cooperation are crucial in fostering green investment and joint climate action. As a close partner, Singapore plays a vital role in strengthening these efforts. In recent years, our two nations have made significant strides in advancing sustainability through engineering and innovation. Singapore, with its leading-edge technologies in smart cities, green infrastructure, and resource efficiency, is working closely with Indonesia to share knowledge and strategies that drive sustainable development throughout Southeast Asia. In this regard, Indonesia and Singapore have agreed on a series of memorandum of understanding related on renewable energy, climate change, and sustainability. The signing of these commitments will not only support to reach its environmental goals, but also strengthening the energy infrastructure and energy transition for both countries. A MOU was also signed during the Leaders' Retreat in 2022 on sustainable urban housing development. This cooperation will facilitate cooperation in developing innovation financing for smart and sustainable infrastructure development. As we discuss the critical role of engineering in shaping a sustainable future, let's not overlook the importance of education and capacity building. In many ways, the next generation of engineers will play a central role in realizing the ambitious goals we set for sustainable development. However, it is not only the responsibility of the engineers to drive this change, it is also a responsibility that extends to policymakers, governments, and educational institutions around the world. To ensure that our future engineers are equipped to tackle the challenges and for tomorrow, we must prioritize sustainability as a core principle within engineering education. From undergraduate programs to professional development, we must encourage students and professionals alike to embrace sustainable practices, to always think beyond short-term profit, as well as to invent long-term solutions with the well-being of our planet in mind. Furthermore, engineering schools, government institutions, and the private sector should work together to create learning environments that foster interdisciplinary solutions to global sustainability challenges. By encouraging this kind of collaboration, we will better prepare the next generation of engineers to face future complex problems. As a diplomat, I strongly believe that governments have an important role to play in creating policies that facilitate education in sustainability and the circular economy. We must encourage the development of education programs that emphasize mentorship and practical experience. Such programs will guarantee that engineers not only understand the theory of sustainability, but can also apply that knowledge to real-world challenges. When we look forward to the future, although it may not be always glorious due to tragic events in the world, there must be a call to action. We must work together to create a world where sustainable growth and equity are possible for all. I call upon all of you, whether you are engineers, policymakers, business leaders, or educators, to continue pushing forward with the innovative engineering solutions, collaborative partnerships, and commitment to sustainability. The work for you do today will be the foundation for the sustainable world of tomorrow. Terima kasih. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Alves. We'd like to invite you to please remain on stage. I'd like to present a token to you. I'd like you to come to the center. Now, I'd like to take this time to invite on stage President of the Institution of Engineers Singapore, Engineer Chan Yu Jin, to come up to the stage to present a token of appreciation to Ms. Alves. Let's give another big round of applause for Ms. Tita Yowana Alves. Thank you, Ms. Alves. Thank you, Engineer Chan. We'd like to invite you both back to your seats. And now it is with great pleasure that we present our second distinguished keynote speaker for the 2025 IES Charles Rudd Distinguished Global Lectures. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Kelvin Wong, Chief Executive Officer of the Building and Construction Authority. Mr. Wong, please.
This mic is working, right? Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Hi, morning. Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Faisal Ibrahim, Minister of State for Home Affairs and National Development. Ms. Tita Yowana Alves, Minister Councillor, Head of Economy, Indonesia Embassy. Your Excellencies and diplomats from China and various ASEAN member states. Mr. Suwaiwa, Principal and CEO of Singapore Poly. Engineer Chan Yu Jin, President of the Institute of Engineers Singapore. Engineer Tan Seng Chuan, President-elect of the World Federation of Engineering Organizations. Colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen. Morning, today I'm very honored to be here. I'd like to thank the organizing committee for the invitation. And to all the engineers, I wish you a happy Engineering Day in advance. Before I go into my speech proper, let me just share a reflection from yesterday. First of all, for those of us who celebrate the Lunar New Year, wishing everybody a successful Year of the Snake. So many of us have gone out, doing a lot of dinners or lunches lately, and yesterday I had the BCA board lunch. And apart from lamenting among the board members, some from the legal sector and the accounting sector about how they are unable to find talents or finding it very hard to attract talents, we also noticed that the service at the restaurant was actually extremely slow, and the managers was also kind of hands-on serving us himself. So we were just saying, actually quite poor thing. The manager had to do it himself, and he looks quite stressed too. So it dawned upon us that actually all of us are all struggling to attract and retain talents. Coincidentally, in the same afternoon yesterday, I spent some time mentoring a young founder of a plastic recycling business, of a plastic recycling firm. He's been doing this for 3 years, and before that he was in various corporations, including SEC. And talking to him, I mean, he's just a two-man team right now. He's been doing that for 3 years, collecting plastics waste from various parts of Singapore and kind of converting them into furnitures and hoping to make that into into panels and building panels and things like that. Non-structural, so structural engineers, don't worry. And listening to his story, he's talked about how for a long period of time, they could hardly make ends meet, could hardly earn enough to bring home a salary. So for those of us, but you really admire the passion to try to save the environment, save the world, and that determination to keep going. So to all the business leaders out there who all feel that we are all facing a talent shortage, they are out there. Okay, so to Waiwa sharing earlier on to say that it may not be possible, maybe too expensive or for the next generation, but he decided that now is the time to change. To all the business leaders, capitalize on this, change, inspire, and attract your fair share of chance. Okay, so enough for that. Come back to the speech. Okay, so today I'll be focusing on two key topics that are very relevant to the built environment sector. They are circular economy and the resilient future. According to the waste and recycling statistics published by the NEA, our National Environment Agency, 832,000 tons of construction and demolition waste were generated in 2023, making up 12% of the total waste generated in Singapore. Fundamentally, the concept of circular economy focuses on the elimination of waste. From the data, it is evident that the circular economy approach is not just applicable but essential for the built environment sector. A resilient future refers to the ability of communities to withstand and recover from various challenges and shocks. One of the pressing issues we face today is climate change. According to the Global Status Report for Buildings and Construction published in 2024 by the UN Environment Programme and the Global Alliance for Building and Construction, buildings were responsible for about 34% of global energy demand and 37% of energy and process-related carbon dioxide emissions in 2022. Given the high energy demand and greenhouse gas emissions, our actions in the built environment sector can have a significant impact on the resilience of communities around the world. Against this backdrop, the Building and Construction Authority is spearheading efforts to drive the circular economy and the resilient future initiatives. For example, we have been working with the industry to transform the way we build in Singapore towards the objectives of improved productivity, resilience, and sustainability, as outlined in the Built Environment Industry Transformation Map. Under the key transformation area of advanced manufacturing and assembly, we are pushing for more construction work to be carried out in off-site facilities where there is a greater scope for automation, thereby improving productivity and reducing wastage. In November last year, the Jurong Port Integrated Construction Park was launched. As you can see in the picture, that what looks more like a roller coaster park. Not only does it complement our efforts in promoting design for manufacturing assembly, it also reduces carbon footprint by bringing related construction facilities together in one location. To further improve operation efficiency and environmental sustainability, the integrated construction park uses an automated conveyancing system, what you see as those belts, to transport sand and granite directly from the wharf, from the vessels, to the storage areas and the ready-mix concrete batching plants. And this resulted in additional saving of more than 1 million truck trips each year. So thanks to our partners in Jurong Port and all the RMC players. We have also taken the lead in setting standards to promote sustainability, particularly in the area of green buildings. Together with the Singapore Green Building Council, we launched a Singapore Green Building Master Plan in 2021, and building on the success of earlier editions, it aims to deliver 3 key targets like what MOS have mentioned just now, 80, 80, 80 in 2030. That is 80% of our buildings by gross floor area to be green, 80% of the new developments by gross floor area, GFA, to be super low energy buildings, and 80% improvement in energy efficiency from 2005 levels for best-in-class green buildings. One of the cornerstones of our green building strategy is the BCA Green Mark scheme. Since its launch in 2005, it has provided a comprehensive framework for assessing the overall environmental performance of buildings as well as promoting sustainable design and best practices in construction and operations. The scheme has progressively evolved to serve a crucial yardstick for the built environment as Singapore pursues sustainable development. Today, buildings with at least 60% of energy improvement compared to 2005 standards are certified as super low energy. In addition, the scheme recognizes exemplary performance in areas of resilience and circularity through the award of the Resilience and Carbon Badges. We are also responsible for developing the Demolition Protocol, which is a set of procedures to guide contractors in the demolition process. It consists of, 1, the pre-demolition audit, which identifies materials that can be recovered for recycling, sequential demolition, where the demolition process is done in phases to minimize contamination risks, and finally, 3rd, site waste management plan, where all demolition materials are sorted into different groups on site. By clearly outlining these processes, it aims to maximize the recovery of waste materials for reusing and recycling, or recycling. And there have been encouraging results. Remember the 832,000 tons of construction and demolition waste generated in 2023? According to the waste management statistics published by NEA, the recycling rate for construction and demolition waste stands at an impressive 99%, so close to 100%, which is equivalent to 828,000 tons. Now I'd like to shift my attention to the engineers in the built environment. Like various speakers have said, you guys really are the people that make things happen, and and because we are never done building Singapore, we really need to, work closely with the industry and get more people to take on your roles. You have and can continue to play a major role in promoting sustainability and resilience. Okay, let me share with you and see whether this clip works. A short video of the penguin cove at the Bird Paradise. For those who are unaware, this is an attraction in Singapore which showcases a diverse range of bird species in a naturalistic setting. So let me see if this works.
Aircon! Hi, Anmai.
Hey, where am I?
We are here at the Penguin Cove.
Guo Jian is Mandai Wildlife Group's Deputy Vice President of Sustainable Solutions, the team leading the charge for sustainable initiatives at Mandai Wildlife Reserve. Home to 32 penguins, the 3,000 square meter habitat is 3 times the size of their previous home in Jurong, with 2 saltwater acrylic tanks with a water depth of 7 meters. The building has been awarded the BCA Green Mark Platinum Certificate.
These penguins obviously use a lot of water. So how do you ensure that it's sustainable?
Follow me. Here we are at the life support system at Penguin Cove. What we have here are a bunch of filters and foam fractionators. This equipment removes the proteins that are found in the water so that we can reuse them back at the exhibit.
So you clean
Yes.
the seawater
Yep.
that the penguins live in.
That's right. With this equipment, we are able to save about 20,000 meter cubes of water per day, and that's equivalent to about 8 Olympic-sized pools. All this is what makes the Penguin Cove very sustainable.
But it's not just water, right?
It's also about energy, it's about sustainable construction, and that's what makes sustainability multifaceted.
To reduce the energy consumption for Penguin Cove, the building was built at the lowest point so that it's always shaded by higher ground. At the same time, solar panels mounted on the roof are able to generate enough energy to power 700 LED light bulbs for a whole year. The chillers and the filtration system are also more energy efficient, altogether helping Penguin Cove achieve 30% energy savings.
So this is just a segment of the video. For the full version, you can visit our BuildSG microsite where you can find useful information and interesting media content that showcase the built environment sector. In fact, for many of you who may not have seen, this is just one of a series of 5 videos that we worked with SPH to put out there. The other ones showcasing things like LTA, tunneling, and things like that. So it's a series of efforts and other social media efforts to really start to rebrand the industry and show the significant impact and good work that the whole fraternity is doing. But coming back to the speech again, you notice that the water management and energy efficiency initiatives that were incorporated into the design of the Penguin Cove, in light of the challenges posed by the climate change, today's engineers must take a holistic approach when evaluating the environmental impact of their designs. For example, they should consider the carbon footprint throughout the life cycle of the project, including the carbon embedded in building materials and the emissions linked to the building operations. Moving from design to the construction phase. During the construction phase, engineers can opt for sustainable materials and technologies that contribute to lower energy consumption and reduce carbon emissions. For example, concrete is an essential material used in the construction of building and infrastructure, but the manufacture of conventional concrete is also carbon intensive. A company that is at the forefront of producing low carbon concrete in Singapore is Pan United. Their team of material engineers and researchers employ innovative carbon capture and utilization technologies to produce carbon mineralized concrete. Such advancements not only support our decarbonization objectives, but also enhance the potential of our built environment to act as a carbon sink, thereby contributing to the circularity of carbon. Now moving on to the operational phase. For completed buildings, engineers play a vital role in integrating smart technologies to enhance operational efficiency. By using smart devices, sensors, and software, you can track and analyze the energy usage patterns and develop ways to optimize the building energy efficiency. As highlighted in the BCA's Guide to Smart FM, or Smart Facility Management, buildings can achieve substantial energy savings through smart energy management strategy. These include reductions of 9 to 15% in chiller plant energy usage and 42 to 49% in air handling unit energy consumption. Through our collective efforts, we have made significant progress in reducing the environmental impact of our sector. However, there's still much work to be done. So how can we sustain this momentum moving forward? First and foremost, we need a pipeline of passionate engineers to continue making our world better. To inspire talents to join the built environment sector, we have embarked on a branding campaign. The theme, like I mentioned just now, "We're never done building Singapore," reflects the endless contribution of built environmental professionals, including engineers, to the development of Singapore. If you come across our campaign materials in public areas such as MRT stations, bus shelters, please help to spread the word around, especially those on the social media platform. Industry stakeholders also have a vital role to play. For a start, you can help to promote our branding materials to a wider audience. An example is the BuildSG microsite, which I mentioned earlier on. You can also share with us interesting projects, heroes, and promising engineers so that we can publicize them, or organize learning journeys for students to gain a better understanding of our work and hopefully inspire them to join our sector in future. Remember, all the passionate people out there, it is only through our collective efforts that our messages can be amplified. So in conclusion, engineers are essential in addressing the global challenges that we face today. In the built environment sector, your impact spans every phase of the development journey, from design and construction to operations and demolition. Collectively, we have made considerable strides in reducing the environmental impact of our sector. To sustain this momentum, we must intensify our efforts to attract more young people to our sector. Thank you for your attention, and I look forward to our continued collaboration in building a sustainable and resilient future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wong. We'd like to invite you to remain on stage. And we'd like to invite Engineer Chan Yu Jin on stage to present a token of appreciation to Mr. Kelvin Wong. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give another big round of applause to Mr. Kelvin Wong, Chief Executive Officer, Building and Construction Authority. Ladies and gentlemen, we now move to our panel discussion for this morning. Navigating the future, circular economy and building resilience. Now, this session will explore how the circular economy can drive sustainable growth by eliminating waste, preserving product value, and regenerating natural systems. The discussion will highlight the role of engineering solutions, innovation, and collaboration in addressing climate change, resource scarcity, and achieving net zero emissions. A key focus will be preparing the next generation of engineers with the skills and mindset to tackle future global challenges. Now, before we begin, we also want you to note that for the Q&A segment, we'll only be accepting questions through Pigeonhole. Questions sent via the Zoom chat for those online or raised live will not be accepted, unfortunately. So, to participate, please scan the QR code displayed on the screen. You can see it in the top right, top left for you. Yeah, here we go. So just scan the QR code and type in the passcode VYH23R. Give you a couple of minutes to do that. So once you're in, you can put in your name, you can put in your organization, and you can start writing your questions, drafting some questions. If you read through the program brochure and you have an idea of the kind of questions you'd like to direct to one of the panelists or all of the panelists, you can start thinking about what you'd like to share already. All right. It looks like we're just about ready. So please join me in welcoming our esteemed panelists. Mr. Loh Yew Cheong, Deputy Principal, Academic, Singapore Polytechnic. Ms. Karina Kadi, Chief Executive Officer, Nandina REM. Ms. Kate Drews, Regional Head for Australia and New Zealand, Surbana Jurong Group. Ms. Susie Golding, Head of Sustainability APAC, MSL Publicis Group, Salter Baxter, and Vice President and Co-Chair, Marketing and Communications, Business Committee, British Chamber of Commerce, Singapore. Ms. Violet Chen, Director, Energy Capabilities, Development Department, Energy Market Authority. Mr. Gan Boon Jin, Group Chief Sustainability Officer, SMRT Corporation. And our moderator, Professor Siram Ramakrishna, Chairman, Circular Economy Task Force, National University of Singapore, and Chairman, Sustainable Manufacturing and Technical Committee, IES. Let's give another big round of applause for our panelists and moderator. Gentle reminder for all our panelists, the microphone will be on your seats to make sure you can locate it. There'll be a simple on-off button at the side. As long as you see there's a green light on it, you're good to go. All right, and without further ado, I'd like to hand over my time to Professor Siram Ramakrishna.
Well, thank you, and I would say good morning or good afternoon, somewhere there, because we have close to 1,000 participants online, different parts of the world. We also have more than 800 in-person attendees in this convention center. Welcome to World Engineering Day 2025, Charles Redd Distinguished Global Lectures with a focus on circular economy, resilient future. My name is Siram Ramakrishna, professor at the National University of Singapore. I've been there for the last 30 years. If I have colleagues from NUS, please bear with me. So I've been there for 30 years. I've also been, fortunately, chairing this panel of Charles Redd Distinguished Lecture for the past 5 years. So let me begin with a question to you, not to them. So I've been chairing this session for the past 5 years. Obviously, last year I chaired, and also I'm chairing this year. What's the difference? I know some of you will say, Prof, you look mature. I know what you mean is you are getting old, right? Okay. I think that's fine. Either you choose the word mature or getting old, both are reasonable. But what really changed compared to last year and this year is the artificial intelligence, AI. And before I started this panel session, I'm busy searching on AI platform, asking what is AI. It actually has given a beautiful illustration. So sometimes we wonder, what is the relevance of other people like me in the world of artificial intelligence? So I said I must stay the ground, so I analyzed it. It is clear to me the definition or description provided by AI is less than satisfactory. For example, they talk about recycling, renewability, regeneration of resources, but it's also about human health. It's about building the resilience of our systems. And also, when you're faced with alternative realities presented to you by artificial intelligence as well as the governments. Now you know most rich country on the planet, or the leaders, are presenting an alternative reality for decarbonization, where the other countries have a different opinion. So, in the age of AI with alternative realities, for us to make a better sense of it, we actually need experts. And we have experts today on this panel. I won't introduce them because they would make their own self-introduction. But an important observation is they represent most important segments of circular economy that involves energy, transportation, building and construction, infrastructure, supply chain management, as well as education and business relationships. So they are the experts, more than 20 years of experience, each of them. So experts like that, like them, would provide us a better sense of alternative realities. Hence, I urge you to take the opportunity, pose your questions on the Pigeonhole. As a panel chair, I would pick some of the questions and I would field to them. Before that, the way we would organize is 2 rounds. I would ask them the questions to warm up the audience as well as them. After that, we will look at the questions you're posing in the Pigeonhole, and some of them, or group them, and I will actually pose to them. So please pose your questions, because this is your chance to know where the world is presented with so many different views. So you need to know or learn from the experts. One more warming up question. What is special today? And I'm extremely delighted to see this panel, very interesting and colorful. Why am I so happy? I look smarter than them? No, I must agree they look more smarter than me. The reason is February 11 is the International Day of Women and Girls. And in the last 5 panels I chaired, this panel has a much better gender balance. Would you not agree? Yes. I think so. I think everything is coming to a very good direction. We have a good representation of the people. So with that long, kind of long-winded introduction, I do that intentionally because panelists are very experts. But sometimes when they see an audience like you, especially looking at them, staring at them, they get a little bit worried, yeah? So I need to give them space to get ready so that you can ask all the questions, yeah? Okay, so we don't have any sequence, but my first question would be a general question. It's about each one of you, given about 3 minutes or less. Self-introduce yourself, either your organization or yourself, why you are really interested in circular economy. So I thought, Gunjan, I'll start from you, but, this is the World's Women's Day, so I got to ask Karina. Karina, go ahead.
Even I can't remember, Prof, that it's IWD today. But no, thank you all so much. It's great to be here. I am Karina Katie, the CEO of Nandina REM. And I promise you one thing, after you learn about what we do and the world that we have created, you will never look at an aircraft the same ever again. I've spent roughly 20 years plus working on big, messy, complex problems for big, messy, complex companies. And I took all of the lessons from being in that world to build Nandina REM. We delivered, actually exactly this time last year at Singapore Air Show, the world's first circular aviation carbon fiber. This is technology that we co-developed with 3 A-star research institutions. It is a Singapore homegrown solution. This is our first ever carbon fiber manufacturing that has ever been done in Singapore. This was a pivotal moment for myself and my co-founders because ultimately we went out and we did it. We delivered something that has never, ever been done before. There are many attempts to be able to recycle, or I should say almost downcycle, carbon fiber. You know, it's made all over the world. Those that don't know what it is, all of you with your phones out right now, you're touching the carbon fiber. It is in about 87% of composites that are used in engineering, manufacturing materials, especially by the aerospace sector. This is about a $19 billion manufacturing sector for global composites. And we have created a solution that provides unlimited feedstock to what essentially is a strategic good. So this is a national security imperative and why we're being pulled on by particular strategic countries. So what really excites us about all of this, fundamentally for us to be able to move to more resilient and sustainable supply chains, our vision is that the circular economy moves from being the exception to the expectation, right? A phrase that we often use is that mountains don't grow back. Making carbon fiber is a filthy, filthy process. I come from one of the core industries that makes the precursor for it. So by standing in what is possible, by building on that inspiration of our core engineering team, by having an incredible team of talented people to be able to create new value chains that have never existed before is incredibly inspiring, and that's fundamentally why we continue to grow this business.
Thank you, Karina. I also agree, growing carbon fiber or manufacturing them is actually a very energy intensive, yeah. Okay, we move on to Kate. Please go ahead and tell us about yourself.
Good morning, everybody. Kate Drews is my name, and I am the regional head for Surbana Jurong Group in Australia and New Zealand, based in Brisbane. I also have the great privilege of being the global chair of our Sustainability Council of Excellence. And at SJ Group, our sustainability mission is to catalyse the transition to a regenerative future. And so you can see that if we wish to move to a position of regenerating nature and having a reduction in inequality and social outcomes for people, then really circular economy is key to that because we need to preserve our scarce natural resources. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. We move on to Yu Chong. Well, it's your home ground, right? It's, you're working in Singapore Poly. Tell us something more than what your principal told us.
Good morning, everyone. Very glad to be here. Honored to be able to share my thoughts in this forum. So my role is Deputy Principal of Academic So I take care of all the academic programs across all the schools within the Polytechnic, as well as the academic policies, pedagogy, and the quality. So, so within all the courses, I oversee most of the sort of curriculum and how is it being implemented. One of the things that is very important as part of education is to prepare our workforce, our young workforce, when they're moving into the industry, to be able to understand the issues on sustainability, and in particular in this forum, we are talking about circular economy. I think the concept of the balance between preserving the earth resources and at the same time reducing the landfill is a very important concept that we need to help our students appreciate this concept. And I think for myself, I'm a strong believer in this aspect of the importance of these two elements. And on the personal front, I typically try to look for opportunities to repurpose things that are being unused for other applications, as well as looking into purchasing from the second-hand market instead of buying new ones. Because each time I buy something new, I'm always aware that some of this might go into the landfill eventually. So I think this concept is something that's very important, and I think as part of the curriculum, we actually need to help our students appreciate this.
Thank you, Chong, for keeping to the time. Susie, your turn.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. I'm Susie Golding. I'm really delighted to be here. My husband is very jealous. He is the engineer in our family. So he's very jealous that I'm here and he's not. I'm head of sustainability in the region for Publicis Group, which is a French advertising and communications holding company. And you might wonder, what has sustainability really got to do with us? Well, a lot. As an organization ourselves, we take sustainability very seriously as a corporation, but also what can we do to help our clients become more sustainable? The way that we see circular economy and where that fits into our operations is on the work that we're producing for clients. So all of our production, our media buying, our media planning, so all of those ads and videos that you see on your phone, on your device, on your laptop, they're all generating significant emissions. So we're constantly looking at ways of how can we reuse content? How can we reuse types of content so it generates less emissions? How can we use props that we've used before for production shoots? Can we get to shoots that aren't too far away so we don't need to fly? So we're constantly looking at ways of reducing our own corporate footprint, but also on behalf of our clients. And I also think that as a communications company, we have a responsibility to help clients and their customers maybe consume better. We're always going to be in the industry of encouraging people to buy things. That's what we do as advertisers. But maybe we can get those consumers to stop and think for a moment before they make a purchase, or maybe steer them and inspire them towards more sustainable purchases.
Thank you, Susie. Violet, our NUS alumni, please go ahead.
Hi, thanks everyone. My name is Violet from Energy Market Authority, or EMA for short. Very happy to be here. So EMA is a government agency under the Ministry of Trade and Industry, and we have a very, very important mandate, that is to keep the lights on. And by keeping the lights on, we actually have multiple functions. We ensure the safe operations of our power system. Every day we monitor the system to ensure there's no breakdown, no generation outage, and if there's any maintenance, we will get to it immediately. And secondly, we are the regulator of the gas and electricity markets to ensure fair competition. We also oversee the development of our gas and electricity infrastructure to ensure that they are safe, resilient, and future ready. And last but not least, we want to develop new capabilities for the energy system to make it more flexible, more advanced, so that we can actually meet the demands of the Singapore energy transition. So currently in my role, I'm with the Energy Capabilities Development Department. I look at how to build new system capabilities and work with industry partners to do pilot projects, test case, such as in battery energy storage systems, demand response, and smart grid. I also look at workforce planning, where my role is to actually attract future talent to join the energy sector. So actually, I have built my career around EMA for the past decade. I started out in external relations, moved to policy work, and now I actually looking at more at deployment projects. So in my line of work now, I do get to interact a lot with our youth, with our current engineers, and they always ask me the same question: why do I stay so long in one career, in one job? Today is actually quite an inspiring story to our youth. So my story is always this: because the energy sector is so exciting. It's where the spirit of things and where things are actually happening now and in the future. So when I first joined EMA, things were quite stable, constant. We are looking at mostly natural gas and large conventional power generation. But 10 years later, we are looking at reaching a net zero goal by 2050. We are looking at a more diverse energy system with more solar imports. And with that come with more complex challenges, of course. But with technologies, with our talent, there's also a lot of space for us to co-create new solutions to optimize our energy system. So this is what has changed. It has become very exciting. And secondly, what has not changed is that all the more ever, we need a deep core engineering expertise to build a safe, resilient, and sustainable energy system. So with my time here, I hope I can actually spread this message to actually excite our youth about current and future opportunities and to encourage our aspiring engineers to join the energy sector and contribute to a sustainable energy future. Thanks.
Thank you, Violet. Bunjin, your turn.
Okay. My name is Bunjin. I'm very happy to be part of this panel. I started as a mechanical engineer in the early 80s, firstly to define requirements, writing specification, doing project management for Ministry of Defense. Then I moved on to the other side of the table, to do design work, manufacturing, and then the subsequent maintenance. Over the last 7 years, I joined SMRT. Basically, it's a very sustainable transport company, and I'm now at the Chief Sustainability Officer. Thank you.
Thank you, Bunjan, for keeping it short and sweet. Well, I have more than 65 questions already. And I think since we have lots of questions and we're going to skip our arrangement, we go straight to the questions from the audience because they seem to be more interesting than the questions I prepared for them. I was a little bit more polite, but your questions are more stronger and direct. So let me pick some of the questions, I combine them, and then we go through each one of you, how you would respond. So these 3 questions, I clubbed them. This person is a little bit polite. He doesn't want to say who he's referring to, but we all know whom he's referring to. His question is, with the most powerful member of our one and only Earth boat locked himself in his cabin, refusing to talk, and contribute his efforts to save our only Earth boat from sinking, what else can the rest of the members do? You know who he's referring to, right? In case you don't catch or you don't use your ChatGPT or DeepSeek, second question basically says it explicitly. He basically says, President Trump claims that climate change and sustainability issues are a hoax. Maybe the stakeholders who want to create new industry and jobs, what are your views? And another question, given the US President's executive order, the cost of importing sustainable materials may rise. As a panelist, industry leaders, how can we support small and medium enterprises in continuing to advance towards a more sustainable future? So now you realize basically they are referring to the similar question. And the organizers may be wondering, I think next time I should not invite Professor Seeram to chair this session because he's getting too political. Hopefully not. That's not the intention. This is a political meeting. So panelists, I remind you that your views are personal. You are not representing any of your company or government. So please go ahead and take a shot at this question. Fundamentally, what they're saying is world's largest economy worth $30 trillion somehow have a different plan, whereas another $50 trillion world is thinking differently. So the question is, should we, as Singapore companies or Singapore-based multinational companies, where should we place our bets? So who would want to go first?
It's okay.
I
I'm
think
used
Karina
to being
wants to
first. That's fine. I mean, you know, to me, there's questions coming up more and more. It goes back to actually how we at Nandina have had to be able to pivot and grow. 2 years ago, we were told what we were doing is absolutely crazy and that we should just accept industry norms, and that the 8,000 aircraft that are currently retired all over the world, most of which are just dumped in the desert in 3 states in the United States, in fact, we should just accept that. And we should just accept that the world's most highly engineered materials that built by an industry that has created our society to function today, that sent men to the moon, that enables our phones to work because of the satellites that they put up in space, that we should just accept that this industry can't figure out how to solve for their asset end of life. And so to really stop what we are doing. In fact, we are told no so much that what we are doing is so not possible, we use it as our coat of armor. For every no, we get closer to a yes. And you absolutely cannot run a startup if you can't take the no. But then we went out and we actually did it. And then we actually delivered carbon fiber. And last year, after launching it to the market, we sold our carbon fiber, the first company in the world to sell circular aviation-grade carbon fiber that matched virgin aviation-grade carbon fiber at the same price point, no green premium. So just go out and do it and deliver for your business and your customers. At the end of the day, that is all that matters to a company like ours.
Thank you, Karina. You know, she's essentially saying there is money to be made while we can contribute to the better, sustainable world through her company example. Who would want to go next? If you don't, then I'll ask. Yeah, Kate, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that was an amazing answer, Karina. I think, to my mind, you know, the truth doesn't care about our opinions. So whatever the geopolitical difficulties or the political difficulties we're experiencing at the moment, we still know that we are using resources at an unsustainable rate. We have Earth Day every year. It's getting earlier. We are using more than one Earth's worth of natural resources, and that's based on science, and that's the truth. So there's so much that we can do, either as individuals or in our respective roles in companies. And I think, Karina, you made a good point at the start when you said about downcycling. So much of, you know, we kind of feel very virtuous. Every time we recycle, we feel very virtuous about it. But so much of recycling is actually downcycling, where because of contamination and the like, the product that we get after the process is not equivalent to virgin product. So congratulations on your carbon fibre. That's an amazing story. And I think what each of us can do is really just maintain our focus on moving towards a more circular economy, you know, reusing, rethinking. You think about the 10 R's, you know, because I think that political cycles come and go. The science is the science, and so it behoves us to really just stay the distance, because you know, we all know there is no planet B.
Thank you, Kate. Who else want to go on the panel?
Maybe I'll start.
Yeah,
I will do that.
yeah.
Just share my personal experience. I think looking at a theme about circularity, I think a lot also depends on the end user, the customer's value proposition, how they value circularity. I think in my previous job, we do a lot of upgrading program for military equipment. At that time, I think cost was the key consideration. So at that time, I think when we have an old fleet of vehicles, we tend to take it up, we upgrade it, and then we actually at a much lower cost, because the new replacement cost was much higher. So that is the military side. I think for the recent example, which I now in SMRT, 1 decade ago, about 2015, we tried to upgrade the trains. You know, the train, you know, the recent September incidents, the train, we tried to upgrade 2015. to ensure that we can extend the life of the trains, and then also hopefully that we can do it at a lower cost. Whole and behold, two conditions have changed. One is that new trains, because they are built in China, they are much, much more cheaper. So it becomes really not a cost-effective solution now to do local upgrading. Okay, second, of course, I think because of the current demand for our usage, there isn't enough time to test our new trains. So because of these two reasons, we have to move out from upgrading those old trains and rely on buying new trains. I think in our our commercial life, our private life, now we use computers, laptop, TVs. They are no longer requirement anymore, cost-effective to repair. You just use it, and when it's failed, you throw it away, right? I think what does this mean is actually for designers, if you want to include the circularity, you got to start from upfront. Whether it's using a virgin material or secondary material, or design for repairability, design for repair, etc., that has become upfront, so that the equipment can then be subsequently repaired, extend its own life. Okay. I think the other thing is about how do we promote this thing, awareness of circularity. In our, energy efficiency, we know the electrical equipment got the number of ticks, right? And then in terms of the sugar content, we have the neutral grade. Perhaps I think in terms of security, we could have indicators of, let's say, the cars, the TVs, the white goods, to have indicators of how much % of those items that we have bought can be recycled or can be reused or extended. So this is still missing. You see, when we buy our cars, what the OEM tell you is how many kilometers, few liter per kilometers, or kilowatt hour per kilometers. But they don't tell how much is that their equipment, major equipment, that can be recycled or to be extended in life. Right? So I think perhaps this is something I think for our because of our lifestyle, we have to review whether it's something that we want to continue using old equipment, and it make it cost effective for everyone to be able to do so. Right? So I think it's a whole host of things from the start, the design part of it, and then to the usage of it. And then of course the usage will be depending on the user requirement, the personal requirement. You prefer use old equipment, uniform, clothing, furniture, etc. Okay, so I think there's a lot for us to think through. And definitely, you look at the recent government 2030 climate plan. Recycling is only a small part. And all this is because of legacy. All the equipment that we're using now are designed long ago, where this thing about circularity wasn't part of the consideration. Perhaps now, we can then start thinking, how can the equipment designers include circularity as part of their selling points, so that consumers can be better aware, and then to select items that can be more protect the environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Bunjin. Violet, no? Okay. Susie? Susie, if there is also another question, it's basically ask about how do we involve public into the role of circular economy. Perhaps you could add that question to your answer.
Sure. First, back to the question about what's happening in geopolitics. I absolutely agree with Kate. Politics go in cycles. So, you know, something will change at some point, but also I would say to SMEs, block out the noise and just keep on keeping on. Keep on with what you're doing. Listen to your customers. Know that finding more efficient, more streamlined ways, more innovative ways of producing your products and services is ultimately going to make you more sustainable as a business. And I mean that in terms of still making sure that you're around as a business in 5 or 10 or 15 years. So it's just keeping that focus going and just motoring on ahead. In terms of how you engage the public, super, super difficult. You know, I do this for a living, and when I go and give presentations or do workshops with a lot of our agency teams, they'll ask me for examples of where sustainability, circular economy has been communicated well. And I always struggle to find them, because you're talking about changing complete mindsets, complete behaviors, sometimes in countries where it's not easy, you know, and it's not the norm. So we are starting from a really low base. That shouldn't mean that we shouldn't be trying to change those mindsets. We absolutely should. And I think for us as a communications industry, that should be a big responsibility for us. You know, how do we make, this sounds quite trite, but how do we make circularity cool? How do we make it just the normal thing that you do? How do we build, you know, beyond a trend? You know, we are seeing, particularly amongst younger people, you know, thrifting is starting to become really popular, reusing, reselling, swapping clothes is becoming popular. But that's amongst young people. How do we move that out of that generation to all of our generations. You know, if you look at the older generations in Singapore, I would say that circularity quite often is already in place. I see a lot of things being reused and repurposed. But how do we make that happen across all generations? And it's not an easy task, but it has to happen, because unless we can inspire people and excite them, give them the infrastructure that makes it easy for them to adapt this behaviour change, then it will never become the norm. It will always sit on the outskirts of what a few people do. So a big job to be done, but not a job that really any of us, particularly those of us working in communications, should shy away from.
Thank you, Susie. Violet, we can't leave you unspoken, so maybe I'll add one more question for you. There are questions related to energy efficiency, future energy infrastructure. You being working at EMA, what are your thoughts in terms of building energy resilience, and what is the role of beyond solar energy, which seems to have only limited potential for Singapore? For example, AI or many tech companies now, at least one tech company announced or said that they want to build a nuclear power plant for themselves. So the question is, as a EMA or non-EMA person, if you don't want to put the EMA hat, I know you have a political science background from NUS, right? Yes or no? She doesn't want to disclose. I need to pull her out.
Yep.
She has a political science background.
Yes.
Right. So what do you think of nuclear energy and also the building energy resilience for Singapore?
Well, that's a good question for me and for EMA. I think maybe I would like to draw back to what is the Singapore energy transition about. It is really looking at how to decarbonize our power sector so that we can help to reach our national carbon goal to reach net zero by 2050. And it's actually quite a complex plan, because we have to make changes on the supply side to look at low carbon alternative to decarbonize our power supply. And we also need to look at how to increase our natural gas efficiency, look at other more options like hydrogen-enabled power plants, as well as power sector carbon capture. And moving down, right, we also need to look at the way that we actually change, the way we produce and change our energy, the way that we optimize our energy consumption. So I would say that the circular economy has quite a huge impact in the energy sector, the energy transition plans. So I will give you a few examples. First, because as Singapore scale up solar, our grid will become more complex, and they actually create a fluctuation in the grid and create intermittency. So to resolve that and to actually bring in more solar than ever, we actually need battery energy storage systems. But battery energy storage systems, they are expensive, they have a limited technical lifespan. And now the industry talk is to have a circular economy approach for batteries, so that even at the start of the cycle, we look at how to position them for recycling in the future. A very good use case is EVs batteries. They actually, after 7 to 8 years, probably you need to retire them, but actually they have a very good use to be a stationary grid battery in the grid to provide services. In that way, we can have circular economy while reducing costs of our energy assets. And secondly, another example is to look at how we change the way we use energy. So the demand response is a very good application of circular economy as well. So by changing your energy consumption pattern, by shifting your use from the peak hours to the non-peak hours, you actually reduce the strain on our generation assets, reduce the strain on our energy infrastructure, and in the long term, we can avoid the cost of energy, avoid the infrastructure that we can actually need to put in place that will give us more efficiency and more utilization of our existing assets. And last but not least, creating a smarter grid is very important in this aspect, because it actually allows us to integrate more flexible energy sources. So virtual power plants, this is a new concept here, but actually by aggregating existing assets such as solar panels, EV chargers, batteries, and actually combine them to produce energy to the grid. Again, you are making use of existing resources rather than building new ones. And secondly, is also how to use AI, predictive analytics, to build a smarter grid so that you can have predictive maintenance, have conditional monitoring. This is very important for our grid infrastructure, to use a digital twin so that we can actually analyze the asset lifespan and reduce the cost and wastage on this area as well. So I would like to, last but not least, I think very important for circular economy is to have put on a systems approach. Because now today in this complex world, multiple interdependencies, geopolitical uncertainties, there's no one single solution. We have to see how, for example, battery storage interact with demand response, interact with smart grid to design a more holistic energy system that's resilient to disruptions, no matter how how volatile the energy landscape is. So we need engineers to do that. We need system engineers, and we need system thinking to embed all this together. Yeah, I'll end it here.
Thank you, Violet. When I see her answer, or listen to her answer, it reminds me of my students. They are thinking, this professor make me to work and talk too much. So she's thinking behind in the back of the mind. Thanks, Violet. Okay, now I can't leave Yu Chong out. So we need to ask him a question. There is a question for you from the audience, and I'm just paraphrasing it. The question is, if I'm new to circular economy, where should I begin? How should I go about? So
I think being an education institute, I think the very important is to help our students understand the data and how the data indicates a certain phenomena, and then they can communicate the narrative behind the data. I think that's a very important training that we help our students. So Trump's aside, I think data, there are already very clear data that carbon emission leads to climate change, leads to seawater rising, and there are very clear data. There are tons of waste. They are overwhelming our landfill. I think these are very clear data that actually puts enough narrative for our students to understand the things that the society must really come together and tackle such problems. So in our curriculum, right, we have something called the Common Core curriculum, where we actually help students to think critically about what the UN SDG goals are. For example, things like wicked problem of handling food waste. Right? This is one of the examples that the students have to debate how to go about solving some of these issues. And we have a module under this Common Core curriculum, which is persuasive communication and data storytelling, right? So we actually get students to examine data on food waste, on waste in general, in electronics waste, and how this data can be used to persuade people towards a sustainability practices. So I think all this training are actually very important in actually helping our students prepare their mindset. I think with the change of mindset, I think some members actually mentioned, right? Change of mindset is something that is challenging to do, and it takes time for it to evolve. So preparing them from young and before they enter into the industries, help them to have this mindset, to actually contribute and wanting to have the passion to contribute in these areas. I think that is the essential preparation that we need to have in order to move, the next generation forward. Yeah.
If I can just add really quickly to the engineer students in the room and those watching online, if you want to learn about the circular economy quickly, so from your transition, your theory into field, send me your CV. I'm very, very serious. It is very hard for us to find talent. I do not care what stage of your degree you're at. You could be first year, you could be already exiting, you might be alumni listening in to this. I do pitch this at every single university I can, because it is so hard to find talent who are willing to actually do a form of reskilling at the start of their career. So you can look up our company online and send your CV directly into the email address there. You can connect with me on LinkedIn and send me your CV. But please send. If whoever asked that question, if you don't send your CV, then I don't know how curious you really want to learn about circular economy. Joking.
Thank you, Karina. Actually, there was a question on the pigeonhole asking about how do we go about jobs and opportunities. Is there really a
job for you right here? Please send. Please send.
NUS, be worried. I just sent her my CV. I think NUS guys are thinking is good riddance, is gone, right? Okay, now we get to the more directed questions. Kate, these are the two questions. There are many, but I picked two for you. is tearing down and rebuilding buildings or houses circular economy or sustainable practice? How to encourage conservation of old buildings or houses? How to achieve building resilience for 100 years lifespan or beyond? The other question, how can urban planning and architecture contribute to the circular economy? What are some low-hanging fruits for the developers and city planners to adopt sustainable practices in construction and infrastructure?
Thank you. I think in relation to the first question, it's quite difficult to have two questions, Professor Serup. Thank you for distracting me with the second question. I think in relation to, and now I've forgotten the first question because I...
Tearing down the buildings.
Oh, right, that's right. One of my favourite topics. Apologies.
No, Kate, don't worry. You know why? Singapore Poly, you didn't supply us coffee. You gave us a water. We need caffeine.
Undercaffeinated. And two questions. I only have a small brain. So, I mean, I really think that in the days when I was first a consultant in the built environment, we talked about the end of asset life cycle, but we didn't really take it seriously. We kind of paid lip service. And if we think about the life of a building or linear infrastructure, you know, it might be 30 to 100 years. So really, I won't be around to see the end of the life cycle. And so we didn't really design with the end in mind. We always talked about it, but we didn't really do anything. And it's almost as if we are now moving towards a situation where everything is a heritage building. And we have to challenge the business case. So at the outset, and this is really what we see is happening in the UK and Europe, that before we decide to knock something down, we have to look at the business case and see, can we retain the embodied carbon? Because so much of the embodied carbon would be particularly in things like, basements and the structure, the superstructure. So much, if you think about just engineers, what do we love? It's like concrete and steel. So much embodied carbon in those. So how can we retain the bones of a structure and maybe go again? And so you do see a trend towards it in terms of knocking the building back to its bones and then going again. And also there would be other things like, encapsulating a building to extend its life. So maybe encapsulating over the facade, which would be quite cost effective, and it might give you longer, another 10 or 15 years on the building's life. So it's really almost like what we have seen in some countries from a heritage perspective about maintaining the building, that we need to do that for longer. And it really does come back to that, looking at it in the business case. And I think what we will see over a period of time is the standards changing, because we know that obviously it takes a while for the standards to be amended to catch up with what's happening in terms of technology and construction practice. But we will see that starting to occur. And the second question, remind me, please?
It's about how do we build a resilience for 100 years.
Oh, yeah, right. Thank you. Yeah, and in terms of resilience, and if we think about climate change adaptation and what our role is in terms of designers and constructors in the built environment, we have to take that very long view. So from a circular economy perspective, we really are designing, constructing things for long life, but also for disassembly and reuse. So if we think of the Learning Pathway launch today, we're talking about using modern methods of construction, or we termed it here advanced manufacturing and assembly. So we have to change the way that we design and build so that we can have not just a first life of an asset, but a second, third, and a fourth life. So we either design things to be very long-lived so that they can withstand climate change and be used for 100 years, but also then can be taken apart and reconstructed and reused at the same grade. So in a closed loop, not in a way that is degrading the product, but actually in a closed loop. So where at the moment in our industry we might design chemical fixings that are irreversible and have contamination, now we need to think about designing with mechanical fixings so that we can take things apart like Meccano and we can rebuild them. So not only do they go 100 years, but they might not be in their form, that might be through their second, third or fourth life.
Thank you, Kate. Susie, I have a question, but that I give the question first to you so that you can do your AI and search the answer. Yeah. So the question is basically, how do we adapt vulnerable communities into the circular economy and sustainability. So I give you a few minutes to think about it. Meanwhile, I need to watch over Bunjin because in my class, I look at students. Some of them are very busy with mobile phones and iPads. Bunjin is also very busy on the iPhone, so I need to get his attention, Bunjin. I'm a little bit joking with him because we kind of have a degree similar time, so I can be a little bit pally with him. Is that okay, right? Oh, good. He said okay, but maybe after that he will say, no, I don't like you. Okay, Bunjin, here's the question. How does the public transportation fit into Singapore's circular economy strategy? What measures SMRT is taking to reduce waste, energy consumption, carbon footprint, while maintaining operational efficiency, which nobody wants to. Yeah.
Thank you. A very good question. I think for SMRT, we'll be measuring our.
I haven't finished the question, Bunjin.
Finish already? Oh,
yeah. No.
Let me finish first. After I can remember.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I'm saying that I think for SMRT, we have measured our scope 1, 2, and 3 as well. In fact, one issue of our circularity is that the waste is under scope 3. For most companies, scope 3 is actually less of a focus because it's so difficult to collect data, so people forget about it. But we started scope 1, 2, and 3, we know where it's our footprint. Our biggest footprint is scope 2 because our energy to move the trains mainly is from electricity, and our trains are the biggest business in SMRT. So we know our scope 1, 2, and 3, and that's how we look at tackling the decarbonization. So for example, in terms of the traction part, the energy to drive the train, we know that 50% of the energy goes to traction, 50% of the energy goes to underground MRT station. So we have two main programs. One is to change the driving profile of trains. You may not realize it. Just like when you drive your cars, if you have a hard acceleration and hard brake, you consume more fuel. So for us, we reprofile it so that we can lower the energy consumption for trains proportion, because that's 50% of our driver. And how do we ensure that the point to point, we don't have longer dwell time? We sort of adjust the dwell time at train station. So to the consumer, the commuter, they may not realize it. So that's why we save. And in our current scheme that we have introduced, we save about 6 to 8% through this profiling. The other big incentive was, of course, to a smart building, using controls to regulate the air conditioning. You may not realize it in the morning, maybe we don't switch on the chiller, or we set temperature higher. When the crowds comes in, we then lower it. Of course, you got to be sensitive enough so that we can get it enough so that you all don't realize it. Or we switch off earlier. Okay, so some of the things we do in order to lower down the aircon consumption. And of course, new concept, hybrid cooling. Higher aircon temperature is a fan running. So this also help us to do the energy saving. For our scope 3, we actually started to measure our waste, to monitor, to track what waste are we generated. Actually for us, because our system is running a very long lifetime, so we don't generate much waste. So our scope 3 is only about 30% overall. It's unlike most companies. Scope 3 is the highest. So our scope 2 is highest, 55%, scope 3, 30%. Other than that, I think we work with the vendors. The problem is our current tender with the vendors, we actually tell them, take away the waste, we don't know what they do with it. So in all the new contracts we are doing now is we tell the tenderers, the vendors, to share with us what are the best practices in terms of the waste they are trying to take it over, and then how do they convert it. So we also have the sustainable procurement policy whereby we are prepared to pay some additional costs for vendors that give us better, more sustainable solution. This will help us to lower our scope 3. So these are some changes we are doing in order to tackle the waste part, okay, which is under the scope 3. Okay, so generally this is my response to the first part of the question.
Thank you, Bunjin. You know, we are getting better and better. You know, the panelists are also getting smarter. That they're almost like millennials and Jet Gen, you know. You tell them, don't talk to me too much, let me answer first, right? So it's exactly, Bunjin, I think I'm suspecting whether you're millennial now. Okay, the question, second one, since you accepted you are a Gen or a millennial, this question is a little bit outside the scope of SMRT. You may wish to answer it, but if you wish not to answer, it's also okay. The question, basically there are a couple of questions related to that. Right now in Singapore, every car is for 10 years. Why don't we make it 15, 20, 50, whatever that number of years? Yeah, okay. Please.
So this was one of my thoughts. You see, now our CEO is 10 years. Maybe to promote more greener commute based on kilometers run. Some cars, they only use 10,000 a year. Other cars, some people may use 30,000. So average about 20,000. So maybe this is a policy. I can't say it because I'm also an interested party. But I think if you were to say, look, COE based on mileage, say 200,000. If you hit 200,000, then your COE expire. Then people will try to use less car, drive less, right? Because they want to extend the cars to 200,000 kilometers. So that will, in a way, reduce the number of new cars being put on the road. I mean, that's my personal idea how we can tackle the 10-year tenure for COE.
Thank you, Bunjin. Violet, here is your AI moment. The question for you is a fuel cell car better or EV car better? You can start searching your internet for the answer. Before that, I'll pass on the mic to Susie. You remember we asked the question, do you need a coffee?
No, I'm good.
Oh, good.
Okay, so embedding sustainability, circular economy practices into communities, I think, is a challenge on a number of fronts. I think it's a built environment challenge, an infrastructure challenge, and an engagement challenge. So it really needs very best thinking of engineers and communicators, community leaders, all of us really, because you have to take the solutions to people or they just won't use them. So if you think about how do you change behaviors, you need to find a way to make something a habit. You have to make it easy. You have to make it accessible. You maybe have to make it rewarding. And sometimes you have to make it so that if you don't do it, you're going to feel a bit ashamed of yourself because everyone else is doing it around you. So these challenges have to be faced on multiple fronts. And that's why collaboration across engineering, communications, community engagement is really important, and government, because we can't crack this on our own. We need to work together to find a way to crack it. So we have to take solutions to people. And it's even little things like, you know, if a recycling bin is not immediately below your apartment or your HDB, you're not going to put anything in it. It's too much of a hassle. But, you know, we're quite lazy as humans. We want things to be very, very easy. And the other thing I think we all need to consider is, what do we care about? We are selfish as human beings. We care about ourselves and what's in it for us and why should we be bothered about something. And then we maybe care about our family and then maybe our immediate community. But beyond that, the amount that we care gets lower and lower. So we might all talk about caring about climate change, but actually doing something about it ourselves, we'll only do that if it's made really easy for us and accessible for us. So lots of challenges, but just because they're challenges doesn't mean we can't solve them, but collaboration is the key to solving them.
Thank you, Susie. We have 15 more minutes left for this session. Violet, are you ready, or I bring in Yu Chong?
Well, I have a very short response to your question. So, in summary, technology agnostic. So my key principle is to have the Singapore energy transition and to meet the policy trilemma of energy sustainability, cost competitiveness, as well as energy security. So if the solutions is deployable, can meet these principles, and is commercial, I say commercial, right? So very important to be commercially deployable. So we do welcome different solutions into the energy system. But that said, right now, at this moment, based on technology developments and based on my work portfolio, I have a more inkling towards EVs. Because I'm very interested in EVs actually contributing back to the energy system to provide grid services and demand response. And as mentioned earlier, in the future, when we need more battery energy storage systems, that can be repurposed to actually provide grid services that can help me to reduce the cost of the energy system as well. So it's really from this principles and policy perspective. Yeah.
Thanks,
I didn't talk too much this time.
No. Looks like she doesn't need a coffee, so I can ask her one more question. Violet, what do you think of AI? Is it really helping in terms of we decarbonizing energy, or is the other way?
AI. Wow, what are you talking about? It's what the whole industry is telling me. AI is the way to go for energy sector, and there are so many use cases. So first and foremost, we are very interested in building a digital twin for our Singapore Power to actually to see better the different connections, look at congestions, have predictive maintenance, conditioning monitoring. It's not possible without AI and big data. And demand optimization. If you are in a building, like for example Singapore Poly, how do you know where is your energy guzzlers, and how do you determine when you can feed that energy load back into the system? All these are actually AI and actually data analytics as well. So actually maybe jumping a gun a bit, EMA does participate in the Green Skills Committee, which actually Singapore Poly is a member, and actually we reached quite a good consensus that software creation, AI, digital analytics is one of the key focus for future energy careers. Yeah.
Thank you, Violet. Yu Chong, you're sufficiently warmed up with no coffee. Okay, good. The question is basically, how can young people get ready themselves for the circular economy? You know, what are their anxieties to get into circular economy space? What do you think?
Yeah, I think one of the key challenges of today's youth is that, online buying is so easy nowadays, and our youths are all digital natives. So to them, online buying is something that is something that they can do almost any time. I was even told that army boys can do shopping nowadays in the field camp, So it's like something that is built into the habits. So how do we get them out of this, easy buying mindset? I think that is one of the key challenges, because each of the things that they buy eventually will end up to be unused at some point in time, and you will end up in the garbage. Just recently, if I look at the Chinese New Year, just below my block, it's filled with all the different unused items from the house cleaning. So the challenge of helping them to think about, is there a possibility of reusing, repurposing? I think that is very, very important. For example, in SP, we actually organize thrift shop activities where the students can bring their second unused items and offer it as a sale to their fellow students. So that's one way to promote the mindset of actually reusing some of the things that they have no use for. And I think this mindset needs time, like Susie mentioned, right? All this needs time to inculcate such thinking and practices, and so that eventually, over a longer period of time, they will turn into habits. So hopefully, we are doing little bit by little bit to add in some of these practices to help our students to inculcate such mindsets.
Thank you, Chong. Karina, we have a question for you. The question is, how can businesses accelerate circular economy in already established industries? Basically, what it means is the industries are already there, and its entry barrier is very high for businesses to change anything. How could we introduce or leverage circular economy and profit, means business, how they can make profits in established industries?
The barrier to entry for any large company is always going to be high when they don't have a willingness to innovate at their core and think about where they want to be in the next 20, 30, 40 plus years. And I say that as someone, I've worked for some of the world's largest companies, and you will often hear the analogy of, large corporates are like a big ship, and it takes a long time to be able to change the course of that ship. But once we steer that course, we're on that pathway. And I bought into that for a very, very long time. One of the reasons that we built Nandina in the way that we have, where we actually own our supply chain and we own the material end to end. So from the aircraft that has been dumped in the desert, we transfer ownership of that asset to us, and we own that all the way till the carbon fiber goes to the end manufacturer that makes the part that goes back on the aircraft or to one of our automotive customers. And the way that we worked with the world's largest companies to do that was to make it as easy as possible that they don't have to change anything in their system. Because what they still need is a material that's really hard to get because trade is getting more and more difficult, like we were talking about earlier. So where we can just be a drop-in solution to their procurement systems, which are usually pretty clunky and difficult, and you'll just always hear everyone complaining about it, it is the easiest thing for us to get these materials into their supply chain because they're buying them anyway. They're not having to do anything different. Now, of course, things change when we find some of those companies that are willing to truly innovate and spend time with us to think about product development, to start to think about, well, what does that happen to the end of life of that product, even if it's not going to come back to the market for 10, 20 plus years. So that all takes time, but every single company can start right now thinking about where they buy their materials from, how they use their materials, and how they have to justify still mining materials, right? So like I said earlier, and also was mentioned multiple times as well, the only way that we're going to move for any circular or more sustainable materials to be the expectation rather than right now it's the exception, is if it starts happening in the business case that you have to justify why you're still extracting raw materials. But that will take time, and very, very few companies are willing to be bold enough to have that conversation in the boardroom.
Thank you, Karina. Now we are left with 7 minutes, so we don't have pointed questions to any specific panel members. This is a question any one of you or more than one of you can answer. The question is circular economy, is hydrogen economy suitable for circular economy? What they mean is just like electricity, battery-based industry transition or the energy transition, the future, there is also expectation hydrogen economy will take off, likely to take off. And the question is hydrogen economy suitable for a circular economy concept?
I can give a quick answer first. Yes, because we already know it through one of our customers who produces pressure vessels for hydrogen storage. So, right, we provide materials. This is just from a material science and engineering perspective. They need to test secured materials, and they also have tanks that reach their end of life through their testing, and that's something that we help them figure out how to prevent all of that from going to landfill or, in most cases, incineration for those type of products. So absolutely, it still has a role to play in the circular economy.
Thank you, Karina. Well, I think I also should answer this one because I've been practicing circular economy nearly 10 years at NUS, and I've been promoting it on different platforms. So circular economy is not just recycling or regeneration. There are many aspects to it. There are 10 principles of circular economy. I clearly see hydrogen economy would benefit circular economy concept in terms of better human health outcomes because the pollution is lesser. It is also generating energy in a localized place, so you are actually reducing the emissions involved, newer materials, newer systems, probably more earth abundantly available systems are available. And there are many other ways how hydrogen economy could help in building a circular economy. So if you need more details, just like Karina, my email address must be there somewhere, or WhatsApp. Please send to me so that I have a job to do. Then Karina will give me a job too, right? Okay.
I said students as students, not professors.
Okay. She said no professors, especially the mature professor she doesn't want. Okay. Okay, now we have the last round, which is basically I picked some 2 questions from here. There's many questions, so I need to pick. Okay, how members of public distinguish between real economies, real circular economy, or greenwashing? And this is a related question I saw. Okay. So why not we add a disclaimer like the one we add on cigarette packets, especially for all the products? Why can't we add a disclaimer about the impact of the product on the sustainability? So essentially, these are two questions. As an expert, how do you help us to identify, oh, well, this is really truly a circular economy, sustainability solution or a product, or is a mere greenwashing? Yeah? Please go ahead, Kate.
I think we've mentioned AI, but I think digital and data is really, to some degree, the lens we have to take. So if you think about either of those questions, really it's informed by data. And certainly from a built environment perspective, digital is the enabler of the circular economy, in that as we go through the assets life cycle, we want to have data-rich models that have things like product environmental declarations attached, so that we can verify where products come from, where are they in the supply chain, where are they made, do they come from virgin sources, and really I can't see without data how you could do that verification and therefore know, is it legitimate or is it greenwashing?
Thank you, Kate.
Yeah, I'd just
Susie,
like to add to that in our industry, greenwashing is a massive problem, and we don't have, in a lot of markets, very strong legislation against it. So it can be very difficult to spot. It can be insidious. I would say definitely, as Kate says, data. Wherever you can look at data, or if you are buying something from a certain brand, there needs to be a way that you can get on that brand's website and look at its sustainability report and look at what it's actually doing. Always be suspicious of brands talking about things being green and eco-friendly. This is jargon. You want to know what sits behind that. And the tide is turning a little bit, and in some markets it's turning too far, where brands are too scared to say anything about how sustainable their products or services are because of being called out, the worry of being called out on it. But we have to get the balance right, because consumers deserve to have access to that information so they can make better informed, more sustainable choices. So that is a big challenge for us as an industry that we're constantly trying to safeguard against. I love the idea of a disclaimer on products. I think we'd have a struggle getting brands to adopt that, but the flip side of that is getting brands, encouraging companies to tell their story about sustainability. Storytelling is hugely powerful in engaging people and inspiring people to action. So encouraging more brands to talk about what they're doing in terms of sustainable development or circular economy, I think, is really important to, again, we've talked a lot today about normalizing this behavior. The more people are talking about it, the more people are doing it, the more normal and just how we do things is where we're going to get to, hopefully faster.
Thank you, Susie. Well, all good things always have to come to an end so that we can look forward to the next good things, right? So before we close the session, the panelists, would you like to have your punchline, one-line message? Anybody? Or yeah, please go ahead,
I'll
Karina.
just say, really to emphasize what has already been discussed here, this change doesn't happen in isolation, right? It took a village to get us to where we are. We built an entire aviation circularity consortium to do that, and that applies for every single sector. So you can't go it alone. Find those that are like-minded, that want to build this journey with you. That's my punchline. It takes a village.
Thank you, Karina. Okay.
I think what I've heard today is that so many challenges that we face can be solved by engineers. Engineers are the solution. So that gives me great hope for the future.
Hope for the future. John?
Yeah, I think everyone has a part to play in this sustainability equation. So I think it's about your own personal commitment to this movement and to the betterment of society.
Thank you, Chong. Susie?
Mine would be, I'm sick of talking about this topic. Let's just get on with it. Let's take action. And that is a key thing for engineers. You guys are really good at pulling things apart, looking to see how they work. How do we make them better? that's where we should be now. I don't want to have conversations about sustainability anymore. I want to see what are the solutions, what's happening.
Well, thank you being restless. Violet?
I will say that there are multiple pathways for engineers in the energy sector. So other than conventional, looking at conventional power plant, there's operation maintenance, there's designing of the system. There's also one group of licensed electrical workers, which probably we need more attention on them because they are our deep electrical, they possess deep electrical engineering expertise. They are important for ensuring a safe connection and installation of electrical installations. So for engineers, especially young ones, please find a passion for this sector and join us as electrical engineers. And for all of you who are already part of the sector, please continue to inspire the next generation and continue to contribute to our energy future. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Violet. Bunjin?
Okay, I think for engineers, I think to always consider it as a second life. Though we design, we talk about the first life, I think second life is very important so that we can sustain it. For consumers, I think for us, we all got to have better awareness of our consumption, whether are we contributing to further deplete the world resources. If you have some labeling to tell us that those items that you buy is actually very damaging, maybe you take a second view, second thought, and then you sort of go for alternative. So awareness is important. Now I think it's lacking.
Thank you, Bunjin. Well, my apologies because I could not entertain more than 100 questions in the pigeonhole. I try my best to add few, ask the question, but you realize our panelists are very economic. They don't want too many long questions, so I had to cut short. So as a summary of this particular panel, I'm really thankful to the panelists for taking time and engaging you. No matter what the alternative worlds out there, all the panelists, including me, we are unanimous that circular economy, sustainability is the way forward, and it's better for the humanity, it's better for the new business models, economic growth and opportunities. And more importantly, some of the panelists, actually all of them, including except me, they already offered you the job opportunities or opportunities for work together. So please make note of their contacts and don't push them too hard, but you can approach them gently. I think that's the way to go forward. Well, I think more than panelists, we must thank you in the audience, those in the online world for spending your attention, listening to our views and our thoughts. I'm sure they are mutually helpful, and I wish you all remaining good day. And please join me in thanking the panelists and yourself.
Thank you, Professor Siram, and our 6 panelists for that engaging and insightful discussion. Now, at this time, I would like to invite you to stand as well. We have a token of appreciation we'd like to present to each of you. And to present these tokens, I'd like to invite on stage Engineer Chan Yu-jin and Mr. Danny Lee, Organizing Chairman of World Engineering Day 2025, featuring the Charles Wright Distinguished Global Lectures. Invite them both on stage to present the tokens of appreciation to our moderator and panelists. Now, just a gentle reminder to please remain seated. The hall outside is not quite ready yet for you. Yeah, so there will be Yeah, so do take your seats. We will let you know very shortly once we move on to the next segment. Let's do a group picture for everybody. Once again, let's give a big round of applause to our panelists and Prof. C. Ram Ramakrishna. Thank you. You may return to your seats. I'd like to invite Engineer Chan and Mr. Lee to remain on stage. Now, before we conclude, we'd like to invite our sponsors on stage to receive a token of appreciation. We'd like to invite our gold sponsor, NUS College of Design and Engineering. I'd like to invite you to the center. I think it's still on the way. So perhaps let's get everybody ready. We'll get them all on stage. So we also like to invite up, so we have a nice warm reception of all our sponsors on stage as well. Can we also invite on stage our silver sponsor, Uyghur Construction. Our other silver sponsor, SMRT Corporation. Our silver sponsor, Uyghur Construction. Our silver sponsor, SMRT Corporation. Next, our bronze sponsor, JTC Corporation. Next, our bronze sponsor, Land Transport Authority. And also our bronze sponsor, Pan United Corporation. Now, last but not least, we'd also like to acknowledge our bronze sponsor, Mitsubishi Corporation, who unfortunately could not be here to receive the token. So with that, thank you, Engineer Chan, Mr. Danny. Thank you. You may return to your seats. Now, with that, we've come to the end of the morning program. We'd like to express our heartfelt appreciation for all of you. Now, if you've enjoyed all the discussions, the online forums, and you'd like the resources, the shared presentations, the recordings, you can find it on the website. Just look up for updates on the website, www.charlesrudd.com. Now, at this time, I'd like you to remain seated. I want to invite the first three rows here of our distinguished guests to go to the level 2 for a short reception. Now, while they make their move, for those tracking attendance for CPD points, now do remember to clock out by completing the post-event survey displayed on the screen. Now, we'd also like to invite the rest of the audience to also scan the QR code on the screen to share your valuable feedback with us. Your insights are important to us as we continuously work to improve for our future events. Also, a reminder for participants attending today afternoon's breakout activities, the gathering point will be the pickup drop-off point on the left-hand side of the SPCC building. The pickup timings are 1:15 p.m. and 3:15 p.m. So do remember 1:15 p.m. and 3:15 p.m. for your breakout sessions. All right, and with that, we'd like to invite all of you to enjoy the lunch prepared specially for you in the foyer. We'll just be opening up the buffets now. Thank you and have a great day ahead.